Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Got class to teach here in under half an hour, so better make this fairly quick here for you today. Little chart deck we like to review with you good people. US dollar kind of caught in this trading range, very wide. Lots of room for currencies to move around versus the dollar without it really starting to trend any one direction or the other. Fed's basically done its thing. They're probably on the sidelines, and my hunch is they may even park themselves on the sidelines through the entire election year because they don't want to be seen as influencing the election. So, in a weird sort of way, they might have had that in the back of their minds. Let's jam in a whole bunch of rate cuts now, so then that way we can just sit on the sidelines through the election year. We still have, of course, big political situations going on in Brexit and Britain and Europe and all that. So there's probably going to be some curveballs around that. And, of course, we always have the risk on, risk off kind of conversations about what the heck's the Japanese yen going to do here. So on balance, though, I'm looking for this very wide trading range. It's like 5 cents on the index. That's good 5% movement. So we're having a bit of a down day today. We had some econs that came out showing industrial production and capacity utilization a little bit lower than expected. We've been talking lots about manufacturing industry, and I spent some time in the daily brief trying to convey that idea that I think on balance, the United States economy, regardless of politicians' desires, the economy itself is moving away from a manufacturing base and more towards a service based IT, high-end technology goods, that kind of thing, and then of course servicing the baby boomers. And actually, there was a interesting retort to the OK Boomer movement right now, where a representative from the American Association of Retired Persons said that the economy is something like $15 trillion or something like that annually on the U.S. And they came out and said, oh, by the way, greater than $7 trillion of that economy is directly tied towards baby boomer expenditures. So make no mistake about it, the baby boomers are still basically the driving force behind the economy. And they're going to be demanding a lot of services in their retirement. With that said, I personally have been rather perplexed, but in a weird sort of way, and that's sort of why I like to follow these cycles. What's kind of tipped me off that we were actually going to head into a rip-roaring crazy-ass bull was the fact that, ironically enough, at this point, in this sort of 50-day cycle period, we actually head into a bull cycle here. Looks like the dump came at the beginning of this cycle. I mean, this is a bit of a surprise to me, but nonetheless, the market does whatever it wants to do. We're now in the rally phase, and yeah, damn stock market's rallying. And interesting, I think I mentioned this to you on the YouTube video, but we talked about this in Daily Brief. If you just simply connect the dots off of the old highs on the Dow, we had this crazy ass one candle, and we didn't know what the heck that implied, but interesting if we do AB equals CDs off of that insane wick, and we project that up, gee whiz, that's telling us look for that tag of that trend line on the underside there going forward. So believe it or not, I could actually see the Dow up at about 28,000. Smaller cap stocks, and we kind of talked about that too. Breadth kind of looking a little iffy, wishy-washy. Small cap stocks are kind of caught in this bottom part of this channel, and they started to top out a few days ago. They haven't performed the way that the S&P and the Dow have. And maybe if we go into orgy mode, we might get a big old rally in the junior market imminently here. It's tough to say, but everything's still pointing up here. And interesting, too, to see that the crude oil keeps pressing higher. Today's high, 57.97. That old high there, 57.88. So we've gone to new highs on the crude, and I was very pleased to hear that Mr. Kavarkanator said he's still long his oil trade. So way to go on patience and discipline there, sir. Awesome job. Interesting. We talked recently about, these risk off assets sure looked like they maybe went a little too far, too fast to the downside. And we even were talking to you yesterday about, like the gold market coming into significant resistance at 38.2s. And I even suggested to all of you, really watch this, right? Great analogy of how 38.2s can often stop face rip rallies up in their tracks. I don't know how we're going to play out this. We're still below that trend line. Did some conversation with you guys yesterday about scenarios. I do believe that we've got now a trading range established, 38.2 to the upside, this key low, 1446 to the downside. Japanese yen basically tried to come back to that trend line. Big ass down day. And this is kind of interesting, right? Because we've noticed that the yen, and we always say this, right? Currencies always lead everything. So it's interesting to see yen's coming off a big chunk here today. Gold, kind of wishy-washy. And interestingly enough, probably based off of those econs, like I said, manufacturing numbers still continuing to look very poor in the U.S. Industrial capacity utilization, industrial production came in pretty weak. So the bond guys are actually kind of liking that kind of news. But, if the stock market just keeps going up, you're probably going to see some money come out of the bond market here. And, of course, we talk lots about gaps. I mean, this thing could be all over the place around here now. But, just simply put, for the purposes of this message, risk on still is in control of this market. Call it nosebleedy. Call it overbought. Market can remain illogical far longer than anybody can remain solvent. I wouldn't fight this until we actually actually topping out. And dead cat balances in the risk off assets are starting to run into some interesting resistance here. Couple ideas. Yes, I do have a couple puts on the books for the S&Ps, but it was purely insurance. I'm long a bunch of stock. Here, I just thought I'd just give you an illustration of a few of the stocks that I'm in. Teva just broke $10 key resistance here. Loving that action. Of course, like I said, I absolutely love pharmaceutical sector here. KPTI just won't stop. I don't know where the hell the damn top is on this thing. Got free position, sold half on a double. I don't even really care where this thing goes. Just go. Have fun. And if you actually zoom out on this KPTI chart, you can see, hopefully you guys can see, maybe this is like a monthly bottom coming in, but I think we're probably going to run into maybe some stiff resistance up there around $20. And then, one flyer that we have on free position, sold half on a double, all that, blah, blah, blah. I'm really interested in this Sonos. You can see it's trying to carve out a nice little cup and handle here, maybe. So I'm keeping an eye on this as, like if the Russell 2000 and stuff breaks out. These are the kind of stocks that are just going to go nutso because they're already rallying and they're in their up mode. And I still think Sonos got a little bit more up to go. Don't go and buy this here now, though. It's way too late to be a buyer. But, just an interesting illustration of some of the stocks that I have on the books and what I'm sort of thinking. I'm still thinking uppy here on a lot of this stuff. Heading on over to the crypto space and Bitcoin, of course, our recent conversations about risk on, risk off, and where does Bitcoin fall into this spectrum. It was funny, yesterday I had said that there was going to be a gentleman who was going to make a comment about this, and sure enough, he came out in spades. Maybe Matthew, just come back into the site, and if you want to converse with me, because I think I'm going to make it a rule, Matthew, I'm going to stop conversing with you. If you feel like posting, great. Tell us your 2 cents. But, I think on balance, you probably belong on the site rather than just using the free YouTube video. But that's here nor there. What I'm just going to simply say is I'm left scratching my head right now. I did talk actually at length about a gentleman that I like. I actually spoke at length in the Daily Brief about how some people like this guy, some people really dislike him. I'm not telling you to like this guy. I'm just saying that I kind of like the work that he does. So what? But, whatever your impression of different people in the crypto space, just try and listen to the message. And the message that I'm hearing is that, number one, this backed exchange is entirely in bed with this Trump guy. I mean, I find it fascinating that just one couple can have such an incredibly dominant and almost monopolistic position in our society. That actually strikes me, especially like owning the New York Stock Exchange and ICE and all that. I mean, gee whiz, just one couple? That's maybe a little too I mean, you want to talk about oligarchs and people getting upset at Russia and the way that their economy works. Well, that's the same fucking thing in the U.S. So, but anyway, from what I understand, the people that run Backed and all that, they are heavily in bed with Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump has basically said, don't buy Bitcoin, buy the U.S. dollar, rah, rah, rah. So it really shouldn't surprise us that, you know what, maybe this Backed event isn't such a crypto-friendly event after all. But having said that, you know, I mean, I've sort of made the message to the site, number one, from sort of a valuation, you know, overvalued, undervalued kind of idea. We're in no man's land. This is a horrible trade location. And then also, too, we have big M's working. So, you know, actually, I told the community today when I was talking to them that the Backed people probably saw this and said, fucking hey, man, let's short the shit out of this thing. It's a sell. And sure enough, price is heading down. But also, too, because this is kind of no man's land kind of territory right now, I'm warning people, especially new people to trading, this is not an easy market. Be careful here. You're gonna, if you think you're gonna outsmart these pros, you got another thing coming. You know, these guys are nasty, and you know, one way to sort of see nasty, evil markets that maybe you should just leave alone is when you see these nutso, insano wicks and tails. And it was fascinating to watch how the market filled out both sides, 8 wicks, 8 tails, then put down cute little day trader. I mean, yeah, we talked about this in the Daily Brief. If you are a very good trader and you're disciplined and you have really bulletproof setups, you can trade these kind of things. And yesterday was an example where Bitcoin was down heavily on the day, but a guy like Mountain Man, and we have a few OGs on the site who like to trade Mountain Man kind of trades, they actually made money on the long side. So, I remember in crude oil trading days, man, I used to hate when Mountain used to do that, right? Crude's down $1.50 on the day. Brandon's up $1,000 in his account, and he was long only. How the hell does that work? Well, this is actually a really good example of that. But lo and behold, we broke to new lows, and then, woohoo, here come another couple insano wicks and tails. So the irony of it all, and I think I put this tweet out this morning, is we're right back into exactly the conversation that we were in yesterday. And my hunch is, being Friday, get ready for a nice new trading range to establish. But at the same time, please understand that, you know, from a higher time frame perspective, we've done a lot of damage here. And it's, in my opinion, extremely dangerous to be hunting longs just yet. I do, I put out a message sort of recently saying that when we lost this 9,000 low, my sort of enthusiasm for the bull case was waned. And indeed, it was very, very choppy, nasty action, but we keep making lower lows here. We've also lost 66%, so that means bullish continuation patterns are kind of off the table. You can see these AB equals CDs. We've got 2 of them that line up almost perfectly on the casino here, right around $8,000, big fat round number. Notice 78.6 here is around that $8,000 level too. And then lastly, I'll just simply say, we often suggest if you want to try and figure out where a bottom is, look left. And you notice that this is basically all open air here, and the next really big key support is actually down against all these lows. So be careful here, people. Extremely dangerous market. I'll finish off today's conversation with just a perfect illustration of what I like to do in the market. Weekly W's. This was one of Kevin's ideas. I really like the W. Trying to figure out how to get in, work some bids in reload zones, and look how we're getting nicely rewarded here. So perfect example of everything that we teach on the site. There's an old expression that says, show me a new high and I will show you a buy. So that high 336, today's high here 338, yummy, yummy. So I'm feeling pretty good, and I don't know, I'll just leave off this. Is it worth taking a risk, buying a little bit here, looking to risk against these lows? There's your risk window. If I'm right, is there any room for this asset to pay me? You tell me. Maybe we won't go off of that high, but even if we just go something like that, of course it's not going to cooperate. I wanted it to be a nice, cool punchline, but there we go. Let's go off of that high. That's not even the ICO high. Well, you know what? Why don't we just keep it simple? Let's use this high. Is there any room for this thing to pay me if it gets going? I think the answer should be pretty straightforward. And this is basically what I do. It's what I teach. This isn't easy. Trust me, it's not easy to do. But you got to build your plan. You got to know thyself. Know thyself from a risk taker perspective. Know thyself from a how much money have I got to work with perspective. Know thyself from a, do I have patience and discipline to actually work bids in reload zones? And am I going to walk away if it breaks the bottom? And then finally, now on this side of the equation, have I got patience and discipline just to let my idea work and pay me? So there you go. If you need help with any of those questions, that's basically why we built the site. Of course, we'd love to have you as part of the community and our education program. The overwhelming response that I've been gotten from the public is it does exactly that. It really helps people get themselves into a position so that they can take advantage of this kind of action. All right, everyone, have yourselves a great day. I'm off to class. Have an awesome rest of Friday. And of course, hopefully maybe we'll see you all for some broiler chickens on Sunday. All the best, and bye.